ready to go on the record?
Yes, sir.
Great.
See it, but I was told by one of my employees that there was television coverage of us last night on one of the local TV stations. So based upon that, Judge, and based upon the history, we would renew our request for media inquiry today.
Okay.
But I have nothing to supplement our record with other than my offer of proof. That's what I was told, and I have no reason to doubt it.
Mr. Rubenstein, any opposition to the request to inquire of our jury about exposure to media coverage?
I do not have any opposition, I guess similar to Mr. Colvin's record. I didn't see media coverage, but I did get an email from one of the TV stations asking if Elaine Jones did testify. So I assumed that they were reporting that she testified in some manner. So I don't have any opposition to the normal inquiry.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Colvin?
Judge, I did want to take up one other matter.
That's fine.
It's my understanding from speaking to prosecution that today would be the day that they intend to play the voicemails that were contained on Ms. Bergfeld's phone. And there's an agreement, and there is no authentication or hearsay objection to those. So I don't want the court to think my objections in that nature, because it's not. I do object to the playing of those, however, and I'm objecting to those specifically because I think the relevancy of those is to establish the timeline. That information can very easily be elicited from Investigator Norcross. We're not contesting the voicemails were left, or the times the voicemails were left on the phone. So I think the time part of it is very easily provided to the jury. The content of the voicemails, I think, is certainly more prejudicial than probative. And as the court, I'm sure, recalls from the first trial, there's one voicemail in particular that was left by Jess Dixon for her mother. She's obviously a young child in the voicemail. She's obviously extremely traumatized or upset. And I don't think the content of that, particularly the emotional content of that, furthers any permitted purpose. It simply is impacting the jury's emotions for no real purpose when the relevancy is on the timing. So we'd ask the court to do an analysis under 403 and find that if the content is more prejudicial than probative, and not allow the voicemails to be published to the jury or the recordings of them to be admitted into evidence.
Sorry, just for clarification, are you only objecting to the voicemail attributed to Jess Dixon? That's where you made your argument under a 403 analysis. I don't know what your argument is. I guess the other part of that is you're just saying it's the time frame for the other voicemails, and you're objecting under a 403.
Yeah, I think my argument is that it is more prejudicial than probative. I think the others, I guess to be clear, I am acknowledging the prejudicial impact of the other voicemails is significantly less. And I recognize that's a factor the court has to consider in making the weighing of the admissibility of the content of the other voicemails. I would submit to the court, given that the probative value of the content of the voicemails is so de minimis, the other voicemails also shouldn't come in because I think they have some prejudicial impact. But there's no doubt the prejudice from the content of Jess Dixon's voicemail is very substantial. It's certainly, and I would acknowledge, it's certainly much greater than with the content of the other voicemails. They tend to be less heart-wrenching. I'm not sure of a better word to put.
Thank you. Mr. Rubenstein, do you want to respond to the objection?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. First, I'll respond to the ones other than Jess, and then I'll address the one with Jess specifically. What's important about these voicemails is partly the timing, also the sound of the voices, the tone of the voices, the content of what's being said, I think they are very much res gestae of what's going on. I mean, there's two different parts. One is the set of voice messages related to Paige's personal cell, and then the other one's the Models Inc. cell. And related to the Models Inc. cell, there's a lot of discussion about her business and what sort of was going on with her business at the time, which is of course very central to this case, including all the alternate suspects. So having that stuff, I think, is highly probative as far as who's calling, what they're asking for, when they're asking for things. On the Models Inc. phone, for example, is a voice message from the alternate suspect, John Livingston, saying, "Where are you? You were supposed to be here." So, you know, and his tone of voice. So there's a lot of very probative information on that. Similarly, on the personal cell, there's calls from Ron Biegler, Rob Dixon, other people that the defense has, you know, talked about, as, you know, criticized how much they were looked into. And so their tone of voice, what they're saying, all that stuff is very probative information as far as what was going on around the time of her disappearance. So, and given that there is very little prejudicial effect of any of those, I would ask the court certainly not consider that. With regard to Jess Dixon, you know, the defense has challenged when she went missing exactly and how we know she went missing and the timing. And, you know, it's the people's theory that she had not made plans to go visit clients until that day, until after she left Mr. Biegler. And so having the jury hear how upset Jess was that she hadn't come home at the point she was supposed to come home is sort of central to our argument, that it was the plan going into this that she was supposed to be home. And, you know, I realize that it is something hard to hear, but it's one, I don't know, maybe 30-second call out of about an hour, maybe 50 minutes worth of voice messages. So to me, the probative value of that is not just the timing, but the sort of how clear it was to Jess that something had changed. And the defense has, you know, made arguments, certainly at the last trial they made arguments, and I anticipate they will this time, that it could have been somebody else that she had written in her day planner from the day before, or from some earlier time. And I think that that message bears out that that's not the case.
Thank you. Mr. Colvin, other argument that you'd like to make?
No further argument?
All right. Is there a specific exhibit that I could rule on as far as the defendant's objection, just for the record?
It's 300, Your Honor.
Exhibit 300, do you agree, Mr. Colvin?
Yes.
All right, that your objection pertains to Exhibit 300. All right, thank you. I've considered the arguments of counsel also. I do remember that voicemail that was played during the last trial with regard to Jess Dixon. I have a vaguer memory, quite frankly, of the other voicemails. I consider the voicemail left by Jess Dixon to be very emotional. It certainly is difficult to listen to. I think it's been articulated by at least one, if not both lawyers, the difficulty in hearing that voicemail. It's a very difficult voicemail to listen to, quite frankly. And however, that's not the analysis. The legal analysis is whether or not the probative value would be substantially outweighed by any prejudicial effect. I agree with the prosecution and Mr. Rubenstein's articulation with regard to the probative value of the exhibit number 300, and I find that any prejudice to the defendant does not substantially outweigh that probative value, so the objection is overruled. Other issues before we invite the jury in, Mr. Colvin?
With that, we have nothing further. We're ready to proceed.
Mr. Rubenstein?
Nothing from the people, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. I'll go ahead and call for our jury.
gentlemen, Mesa County District Court Division 10 is now in session with the Honorable Brian J. Flynn presiding.
Thank you. Good morning. Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, our jury has now joined us back in the courtroom. Welcome back, everybody. Have any of you been exposed to any media coverage about this case? If you have been exposed to any media coverage, if you would raise your hand for me, please. All right, thank you. For the record, none of our jurors has raised a hand. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And we're ready for the people's next witness, Mr. Waite.
Thank you, Your Honor. People would call Bernice Stockstill to the stand, please.
And if you'll just be careful of this black cord. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. Could I have a seat in the green chair by the microphone, please? Thank you. And you can proceed whenever you're ready, Mr. Waite. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Would you state your full name and spell your last name for the record, please?
Bernice K. Stogstill, Stogsdill.
And how are you employed, Ms. Stockstill?
I am employed as an administrative coordinator with the Sheriff's Office.
Is that the Mesa County Sheriff's Office? here in
Yes, it
Grand
is.
Junction? Okay. Do you typically get involved in investigations in the Sheriff's Office?
Not normally.
Okay. I want to take you back, though, to July 9th, 2007. Did you have some involvement in the investigations surrounding a burned-out car at that time?
I did.
And what was your role in that?
To sit in the car for measurements.
Okay. What was your understanding of why you were recruited to do that?
To basically see if somebody my size could reach the pedals and everything to drive a car.
Okay. How tall are you?
5'4".
Okay. So they were using you as sort of a model due to your size?
Correct.
Okay. Did they have you actually sit in the burned car?
Yes.
Before they did that, did they have you dress in a certain way?
They had me put on a protective suit,
Okay.
a white suit.
Just to protect, basically to protect yourself from all the black charring and so forth in the car?
Correct.
Okay. What seat were you asked to sit in when you sat in the car?
The drivers.
Okay, and is that the seat you actually sat in?
Yes.
When you sat down in the seat, what observations did you make about your size relative to the car?
I couldn't reach the gas pedal or the brake.
Based on your size, where the driver's seat was located, and your observations, would you have been able to operate that car with the seat in that position?
No.
You couldn't reach the pedals at all?
Only with severe stretching.
Okay. So it would have been very difficult, if not impossible, to drive the car from that position?
Yes.
Okay. While you were doing that and during that whole process, did the investigators take some measurements while you were sitting in the driver's seat and also kind of while you were outside the car?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as People's Exhibits 583 through 590. And for the record, Your Honor, I've already showed these to the defense.
Thank you.
May I approach?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Stockstill, now that you've had a chance to review those, are those photographs of the process that you just described for the jury?
Yes.
Photos of yourself both outside the car and inside the car?
Correct.
Are those accurate photos as you remember that process of having occurred back on July 9th of 2007?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask to admit People's 583 through 590.
Do you have an objection, Mr. Colburn?
No objection.
People's 583 through and including 590 are all admitted. Thank you.
And Your Honor, if we could have permission to publish those,
Is
please.
there any objection, Mr. Colburn?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Those same photos are going to show up right behind you.
Okay.
And down in the left-hand corner is the exhibit number. So is that 583, Ms. Stockstill?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is that you in the photograph
It is,
being measured by Investigator Ellers?
correct.
Okay. Next one, please. Again, similar photograph?
Yes,
Okay. And one more time. So they were taking measurements of you and your height before you got into the car, correct?
correct.
Okay. And that's 585?
585.
Okay. If we could see 586, please. Now, is this you seated in the red, burned-out red car?
Yes,
Okay. And you're seated in the driver's seat of the red car?
correct.
Okay. Thank you. Next one, please. And is that a picture of your feet as you sit in that driver's seat of the car?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is that 587?
587.
Okay. It appears that your right foot, which is close to the center of the photograph, maybe a little right of the center, it comes up a few inches short of being able to reach the pedal that appears right in the center of the photograph. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
Okay. 588, please. And are they, at that point, taking measurements in terms of where your foot falls with respect to the pedals?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And that's 588, I believe? Is that right, Ms. Stogg, still down in the corner,
Yes, it
588?
is.
Okay. thank you.
588.
If we could see 589, please. Again, taking measurements of where your foot falls in relation to the pedal, it looks like it falls at least 3 inches shy of being able to touch the pedal. Is that a fair statement based on the
Correct.
photograph? Okay. That's 589. Now,
589.
Okay, if we could see 590, please. And again, a little closer view of that. With the Tyvek suit that you had on, was it kind of a loose-fitting suit?
It was.
Okay. And it's a little hard to tell exactly where the sole of your shoe or your foot is there, but it looks like at the very least it comes up about 3 inches shy. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have anything else for this witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination whenever you're ready, Mr. Colvin. Thank you.
Judge, we're having difficulty seeing the screen. Can I move it?
Yes, thank you. Maybe that way. So.
Oh.
There we go. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Afraid I can break it.
And then we might need to angle it some more for our jurors. And it's helpful if I can still see it, if it's just at the right angle. Maybe can we scoot it back just a little bit, and then I can see it, and we go, good?
Good morning.
Morning.
So that's you in the car, right?
Correct.
Now, you don't routinely function in an investigative capacity, is that fair?
That's correct.
You got tapped for this special duty because of your height, is that
Correct.
fair? Okay. Now, when you did this exercise for law enforcement, you didn't manipulate the seat in any way?
No, sir.
Okay. When you got in the vehicle, the seat was in that position that you're in fact sitting in.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
You didn't see the position the seat was in when the car was on fire, did you?
No.
Okay. Now, the seat back there, and by seat back, I'm referring to the seat back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the part where you sit, the part where your back is. That was in that position when you got there, or did someone put it into that position?
I don't remember. I think it was the way it was. I don't remember anybody moving anything.
Okay. My question then is, as far as you know, you assume that's how the seat was when law enforcement found it, right?
Correct.
I mean, it'd be kind of silly to have you test it out unless it was in the same position it was when they found it, right?
Yeah,
Having you do your modeling of a 5'4" person in this seat doesn't mean much if they've moved the seat around, right?
yeah.
Okay. I have 1 second, Judge.
Yes, sir, no worries.
It's just in Discovery Photos. And it's on
Yeah,
the
it'll be
thing.
in Discovery Photos, and I think it's under,
You think it's on this disc?
it's under. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm sorry. Could I approach you?
Yes, thank you for asking.
Showing you Defendant's Exhibit L. Now, I don't know, have you ever seen that picture before?
I don't remember.
Okay. Is it fair to say that looks like a really burnt up car though?
Yes,
Does the picture depict the vehicle you recognize?
it's hard to say.
Okay.
I don't remember that. I mean,
In a second, we're gonna publish this for everybody. That seat in that picture there, that seat back is reclined a lot farther than the seat back that you sat in. Would you agree with me?
I'd say so, yes.
Okay. And in a second, once it's hooked up, Judge, at this time, I'd ask for permission to publish Defendant's Exhibit L.
Do you have an objection, Mr. Wade?
No objection.
That's fine, thank you for asking.
May I approach you?
Yes, thank you.
That seat is laying way back compared to the one you were in, because the one you were in was just off the center post. Would you agree?
I agree.
Okay. Have you ever changed clothes in your car?
No,
Okay.
I haven't.
You're much more civilized than I am. Bottom line is, you don't know whether or not it's helpful to move the seat back if you're going to change clothes.
No.
All right. Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
Mr. Wade, redirect, please.
Thank you. Just briefly. Yeah, if you can take it down at this point. Ms. Stockstill, as you were sitting in this seat, you were actually sitting on metal. Is that fair?
Basically, yes.
Okay, there was no seat cushion
No.
there anymore.
No.
If you would have actually been up higher and further away if there'd been a seat cushion sitting there to where you would have, it probably would
Probably.
have pulled you even further away from there.
I would imagine so, yes.
Okay. And so in order to sit in that seat and operate that vehicle, you would have had to have been a lot larger than you are.
Definitely a lot longer in the leg.
A lot longer in the leg.
Right.
And in order to sit in that and have the seat reclined in a way that it was when you sat in it, again, you'd have to be a pretty large person to be able to do that.
Yes.
Nothing else, Judge.
Mr. Colvin, recross. Yes.
Well, where the seat, the part your rear end's on, you'd have to be longer in the leg, right? That's what you just said.
Yes.
But with that seat back all the way back like it was in the photograph I showed you, you'd have to be really long in the arm.
True,
Oh,
true.
nothing further.
Mr. Waite, other questions?
Nothing based on that, Judge.
Is she still under subpoena, or?
She could be released at this point. from
Mr.
Washington.
Colvin?
No objection.
All right, thank you. You're released from your subpoena and free to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
The people's next witness, please.
Judge, thank you.
Rubenstein.
The people next call Scotty Ellers to the stand, and with the court's permission, he's actually going to testify about two different things. The first one with me talking to him about the undercarriage of the vehicle, and then Mr. Waite may ask him some questions about Highway 50.
Okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with the lawyers, some asking some questions and another asking others. It's fine for us, and thank you for asking. But Good morning, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you, sir. If you have a seat in the green chair, please. And you can proceed whenever you're ready, Mr. Rubenstein. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Can you please tell the jury your full name and spell your last name?
My name is Scott Ellers. Last name spelling is E-H-L-E-R-S.
And you are the Scott Ellers who previously testified in this case?
Yes, sir, I am.
Your role with the sheriff's office currently is?
I'm a criminal investigator, and I'm assigned to the property crimes unit. But my duties are also, I assist in other investigations that involve sexual assault, assaults, homicides.
Okay. As part of your investigation responsibilities, do you often do crime scene processing?
Yes, sir, I do.
Were you involved in the investigation with the disappearance of Paige Bergfeld?
Yes, I was.
As part of that, did you participate in processing the vehicle, the red Ford Focus at all?
Yes, I did.
On July 23rd, did you go to the impound lot to photograph the undercarriage of the vehicle?
Yes, I did.
For what purpose?
I was there to photograph any damage or any type of other evidence that may be found on the underneath side of the vehicle.
May I approach you?
Yes, sir.
Investigator, I'm going to hand you what's marked People's Exhibits 580A through 580P, and for the record, I've previously shown these to defense counsel.
Thank you.
Prior to court this morning, investigator, did you have a chance to review those?
Yes, I did.
And what are they?
These are photographs of the undercarriage of the 2005 Ford Focus.
Green, those should appear. If I could have you. Yes, thank you. You indicated that you were looking for damage.
Yeah, any type of damage or any other evidence that may be located on the underneath side of the vehicle.
Is that 580A that we're now looking at?
Yes, 580A.
What specifically, what area of that were you looking at? If you could just point
This
to-
area is a photograph of this is towards the back of the vehicle, and I know that because back here is the jail to the sheriff's office. This vehicle was located in space number 29, and it was nose in, and the nose end of it was pointing to the south. The sheriff's office is located just to the north of the impound lot. This picture is depicting what is a heat shield here, and this heat shield surrounds the exhaust that runs from the engine all the way to the back part of the vehicle, and this part of the heat shield here is surrounding the fuel tank. This is the fuel tank of the vehicle.
So that's metal that's sort of bent down?
Yeah, that's also there was damage to the heat shield. I don't know how that damage was sustained, but that heat shield was bent in that area there.
And just for the record, you're kind of pointing right in the center of that picture?
Yeah, in the
Okay.
center of the picture here.
If I can have you move to 580B, please, Ms. Watson. And what are we looking at here?
This is also another picture of the undercarriage. This is a piece of vegetation debris that was found underneath a vehicle.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
I'm handing you what's marked as People's Exhibit 581. I've previously shown this to defense counsel.
Thank you.
Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It is actually the vegetation, that's the picture of that right there. It's your Exhibit 581. Yeah.
And did you?
And it's my evidence number SE 54.
SE standing for Scott Ehlers.
Yeah, and it's broken up, so it doesn't look like that anymore.
It's just because it's
Yeah.
old and has dried out?
Yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I'd move to admit People's Exhibit 581.
Do you have an objection, Mr. Colvin?
No, sir.
People's 581 is admitted.
So investigator, obviously, that's something that can come from lots of places in this area, is that right?
Oh, absolutely.
But it was noteworthy to you?
Yeah, it was noteworthy to me.
What was the reason it was noteworthy?
Sometimes you can take vegetation or certain vegetation from, underneath this car and maybe match it to other areas in the valley here or in the western half of Colorado.
At the time you collected this, you had not located Miss Bergfeld's remains, is that accurate?
That's correct.
You didn't locate them for about 5 years after that?
Correct.
Okay, you now know where her remains were.
Correct.
From, how long have you lived in this valley?
I've been in this valley for 28 years.
Okay. Does this vegetation, did it at least briefly appear to you to be something that could be located in lots of different areas of Mesa County?
That's possible, yes.
Okay, so are you aware of any differences, for example, from the Wells Gulch area than like a few miles away or 10 miles away or anything like that?
No, unfortunately, I can't say that if that's true or factual, no.
Okay, so the matching thing that you were talking about, given where her remains were found, is that something that you as an investigator would think would have disclosed any specific information about whether the vehicle was in that area versus a few miles different?
It's a possibility, but you'd have to have a lot of standards from other plants and vegetation in the area.
Ms. Watson, if we could go to 580C, please. What are we looking at here, sir?
Again, this is the underneath side of the vehicle here. This is the rear end of the vehicle. Again, you see the heat shield here that's follows the exhaust to the back. This here is part of the exhaust system. I can't tell you what that is, but the exhaust pipe is right here.
Okay, and so just for the record, you're pointing kind of mid-picture to the left side?
Yes.
And then upper picture for the heat shield?
Yeah, the heat
upper
shield,
left
yes.
side for the heat shield?
Yep.
Okay, next one, please, Ms. Watson.
Again, this is the underneath side. Again, it's the heat shield. This is pictures actually taken towards the front of the vehicle and going towards the back of the vehicle. Again, you can see the heat shield here surrounding the muffler here, and the muffler again extends to the back, and then the exhaust pipe here runs to the engine compartment area.
Okay, and the damage being on the heat shield only?
Yes, damage to the heat shield.
Okay, and just for the record, you were kind of pointing center pictures, the
Yes.
muffler and the heat
Yeah.
shield just being to the upper part of that?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Were there some areas that looked like fresh scratches?
Yeah, there were scratches on it. I cannot tell you truthfully if they were fresh or not, but there were scratches on the underneath side of the vehicle, yes.
Ms. Watson, if I could have you scroll through the photos, and investigator, if you could just tell us when we get to the photo that you're referring to, just ask us to stop.
Okay. Okay.
And this is exhibit,
This is exhibit 580I.
580I?
Yes.
Okay. And the scratches you're referring to?
And the scratches I'm referring to are located here and here on the vehicle. If you can see the surrounding of the area of the vehicle, there's appears to be dirt and dust and stuff like that on there, but these here, these scratches and these scratches appear to have taken that off. Now, how recent those were, I have no idea how recent those are.
Okay, and so you're just sort of pointing mid-picture?
Yeah,
a little
mid-picture
bit
here
below halfway,
and
the
here.
darker areas?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Watson, if you can continue to scroll through, and investigator again, I'm sorry, Ms. Watson, if you can stop here. This is 580J?
Yes,
And that's just-
580J.
That's a
Yeah.
close-up of the one we just looked at?
Yeah, this is a close-up of the photos you just saw previously. This is the scratch that's located on it. And that scratch, if you look around the area of it, appears to be new damage to the underneath side of it. When that occurred, I do not know.
Okay. Ms. Watson, if you can continue. And this is 580K?
Okay? Yep.
And that's,
Another picture of vegetation here.
And was
And
that-
this is sticking in between the heat shield and I believe it's the frame of the vehicle, because this here is coming out of the engine, the exhaust, and this, I believe, is a catalytic converter underneath the vehicle.
and is that different vegetation than the one we were looking at earlier?
Yes, I believe it is, yeah.
Go ahead, Ms. Watson. Again, investigator, if you can just stop us if you see any other, what you are believing to be fresh scratches,
Okay.
or scratches, I should say.
All right, well, this is the heat shield. The picture before this one, it was a wide-angle picture of what this is. This is a close-up of like the damage to the heat shield. It looks like it's been damaged by what it was damaged by. I don't know. It looks like it's a tear or a cut in the heat foil.
And that's 580M?
Yes, it's picture 580M.
Okay.
This is just an overall picture of the heat shield again. You have your exhaust pipe here, your muffler, excuse me. You have your muffler here, the exhaust pipe runs to the front of the car. The heat shield here surrounds the fuel tank, and then you have damage here to the heat shield, which you saw previously in that other pictures. This is just another side of it, showing that this is hanging down the heat shield.
That's 580N?
Yes, and that picture is 580N.
Okay. Ms. Watson?
This is 580O. This is just a close-up picture of damage that was sustained to the heat shield. This picture is 580P. The two previous pictures before this of the wide angle of the heat shield, this was the piece of heat shield that appeared to be damaged, either bent down or hanging down. How that happened, I do not know.
Okay, thank you. Ability to open the trunk from the inside?
Yes.
You are familiar with that?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that, yeah.
Would they be able to?
Yes, they would. There was a emergency trunk release located in the trunk of that vehicle.
Did you collect and book that item?
Yes, I did. I collected it and booked it in.
May I approach? And I don't have a preference as to whether or not Mr. Waite continues on to the other issue, or if Mr. Colvin wants to do his cross-examination on this topic first.
Prosecution could just continue with your direct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Waite?
Thank you, Judge.
Investigator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit here and talk a little bit about some of the other stuff you did during the course of the
Okay.
investigation in this case. On July 2nd, 2007, did you become aware of a man who had found a check and some deposit slips down off of Highway 50?
Yes, I did.
How did you become aware of that?
I received a phone call about some information that a subject by the name of Michael Young had found some check deposit slips and a check along Highway 50, and so I called him and spoke to him over the telephone on the 2nd.
Okay. And then on the 2nd, did you take any further action as a result of that?
Yeah, based on what Mr. Young told me, the location that he had pulled over, he was on his way to Grand Junction from Montrose, and he felt...
Mr. Waite.
It's not offered for the truth of the matter asserted. It's offered to show what why Mr. Ellers did what he did next.
Mr. Colvin.
Judge, I wasn't objecting to his statement that Mr. Young said that he had found the items and he went to that area. I'm objecting to what Mr. Young said after that, specifically that he was coming up from Grand Junction.
Okay.
Judge, I can better tailor the questions here.
All right, the objection sustained. The jury's to disregard the answer. You can rephrase, Mr. Waite. Thank you.
So, Mr. Young had given you a description of where he had found these items.
Yes, he did.
Did you go to the described location?
Yes, I did.
Where was the described location?
It was on Highway 50. It was located approximately 1/2 mile between mile marker 46 and 47.
Is that on Highway 50 in between Grand Junction and Delta?
Yes, it is.
And if I could approach, Your Honor, I'd like to show you what's marked as People's Exhibits 475 through 493.
That's fine. Thank you.
And these have previously been shown to the defense.
Thank you.
I'll have you review those first, sir.
Okay, sir.
Now that you've had a chance to review those, when you went to that area that Michael Young had described, did you do a search of your own?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to find other items of relevance to the case?
Yeah, I did. Yes, I did.
And is that what those photos relate to?
Yes. Some of those photos are on a different search, but yes.
So, and you did
But they
several-
relate to the day we're talking about.
Okay.
Yep.
You did several searches in that area based on information that you received from various groups. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And are those accurate copies, are those photos accurate copies of the items that you found in the area that you found them in?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd ask to admit 475 through 493, please.
Mr. Colvin. People's Exhibits 475 through and including 493 are all admitted.
And if we could publish those, Your Honor.
Do you have an objection, Mr. Colvin? No, sir. Okay, that's fine. You can proceed. Thank you.
Okay, and what we're looking at is a photograph. Down in the left-hand corner, you'll see the exhibit number. So as we go through these, if you could refer to the exhibit number,
I
please.
will, sir. This is Exhibit 475. This is a location that was described to me and the location that I went to during my search. This is a green metal gate. This is located on the east side of Highway 50. And this is in the northbound lanes of Highway 50. To give you a better idea where this is, I know mile markers really don't mean much, but this area is located south of Canna Creek Road and Bean Ranch Road is where it's located. So that's the big hill. If you're going to Delta, just as you start up the big hill, this is the top of that big hill.
Okay. And you indicated that this was on the, if you're going,
Northbound?
if you're going to Delta, this would be on the opposite side of the road.
Yes, it would.
Okay. And that's the pullout that was described by Mr. Young?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Next, please, Ms. Watson. And you indicated that you began to find items in that area. Can you tell us what we're looking at there?
This here is a deposit receipt. It's not filled out, it's blank, and this exhibit number is 476. This was found right at where the pullout is.
Okay. Next, please.
This is that picture of that deposit slip. It's just the other side of it. On this deposit slip, it is, you can see the name of Paige Dixon, the address is 2512 Oleaster Court, Grand Junction, Colorado. The bank that this is for would be Western Rockies Federal Credit Union. The exhibit number on this is 477.
Next, please.
This is one of the checks that was found at that location. Again, this is Exhibit 478. It's check 1757. It has Paige Dixon's name in it there, the same address as the deposit receipt, and it's drawn on Western Colorado Federal Credit Union.
Next, please.
This is exhibit number 479. This is check 1758. Again, at the top, you can see the name Paige Dixon. The address at 2512 Oleaster Court, Grand Junction, Colorado, and drawn on the Western Rockies Federal Credit Union.
Now, as you're finding these items, are you finding them all around this pullout, or are you walking up and down the highway to find these things?
Yeah, I walked up and down the highway approximately an eighth of a quarter of a mile from the pullout. I think I found 2 checks maybe in the median, and then the rest of them were found on the east side of the northbound lanes of Highway 50.
Okay. And just for our information, Highway 50 is 2 lanes going to Delta,
Yes.
a median, and then 2 lanes.
Yeah, there's 2 lanes going southbound, 2 lanes going northbound, and then you have the center median there.
And the terrain in that area, can you describe it?
Well, right there where that pullout is, it's what I call a cut, because they cut the highway through a hillside, through the hill, and it's steep on both sides of it, but you have the shoulder before you get to that steep part.
The highway there kind of flat and open for the most part otherwise?
Yeah, pretty much. On each side of that hill it's flat and open.
Okay.
That's the only place it's kind of, there's a concealment area there because of the cut through the hill.
Okay, thanks. Next, please.
On the Western Rockies Federal Credit Union.
Next, please.
This is check 1756. Again, this is Paige Dixon's name at the top, address of 2512 Oleaster Court, Grand Junction, and drawn on the Western Colorado, Western Rockies Federal Credit Union.
And the
Excuse me.
exhibit number on that one, please. I'm sorry, if we could go back, the exhibit number on that?
Exhibit number, sir, is 482.
Okay, next, please.
This exhibit number is 483. Again, this is another check 1751. It's Paige Dixon's name at the top with her address, Grand Junction, Colorado, and again, Western Rockies Federal Credit Union.
And just for the record, as we've seen these checks appear to be intact. They don't appear to be torn.
Yeah, they do. They're not torn out like when you write a check, you have there's a serrated edge along here where you tear your check out. I also found a checkbook backing out there as well, and I believe these were the stapled area up here. I really can't see where the staple marks are on it, but I believe that's where they came from.
Okay. Thanks. Next, please.
This is exhibit number 484, check number 1749. Again, we have Paige Dixon's name at the top with the address of 2512 Oleaster Court, Grand Junction, and drawn on the Western Rockies Federal Credit Union account.
Next, please.
This is exhibit number 485. This is another deposit receipt that I found, and it's got Paige Dixon's name at the top with her address, and then it has Western Rockies Federal Credit Union on the account.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
I can't see
Can you see that okay?
No.
Ms. Watson, can we zoom in a little bit on that?
Okay. This is Exhibit 486. Again, this is another check. It's 1755. And this is Paige Dixon's name at the top with her address of Only Esther Court, and it's drawn on the Western Rockies Federal Credit Union account.
Thank you. Next, please. And if we could zoom in on that perhaps as well.
Okay, this is another check. This is exhibit number 487. This check is 1741. Again, you can see Paige Dixon's name at the top with the Oleaster address, and then drawn on Western Rockies Federal Credit Union account.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
This is exhibit number 488, and this is check number 1748. And at the top, you can see Paige Dixon's name at the top with the Oleaster court address, and then $89. This is, again, another check, 1747. You can see the name of Paige Dixon's name at the top with the Oleaster address and Western Rockies Federal Credit Union.
And are all these checks being found in that same area that you've described? to us?
Absolutely. This check here, the picture before that, I could see my camera cord hanging down, so I know this is on a different day. This is actually on the 3rd.
Okay, so you went out a couple times. You went out on the 2nd.
Second and the
After you were
3rd.
told by Mr. Young that he'd found these things, and then you went out again on the 3rd?
Yes, I was told by Sergeant Akery that they had done a ground search out there and found other checks, and I went out and collected those.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
This is Exhibit 490. This is a business card for Models, Inc. that was found. The shadows here are my camera lens, our small cameras that we use. The lens cover opens and closes automatically when you turn it on, and it had dirt in it, so it didn't open all the time, all the way, and I didn't catch that. That's why you're seeing the shadows in the picture. And this Models, Inc. card was found on a different day as well.
Okay, again on the 3rd, I believe, or was it?
No, I think that was when I went out with, contacted Connie Fluke of the Abby and Jennifer Recovery Foundation, and I believe this is on, I'm not going to guess.
Is it the 16th of July? Does that sound
Yeah,
correct?
that sounds familiar.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next, please.
Again, this is another Models, Inc. business card. Exhibit number is 491, and these items are also found along Highway 50 as well. On my evidence envelopes that I put these items in, I actually marked where they were found on, I think it was eastbound, westbound lanes, and approximately the location they were found. I was using the odometer in my vehicle. I didn't actually have a GPS system to mark those locations.
Okay, and these are actually, some of these were actually found further away,
Further north.
further north, so
Yes.
further towards Grand Junction.
Right.
Okay,
I actually believe I found items that were from mile marker 38 up to like mile marker 42 in this third search.
and with respect to the side of the road, where did you find most of the items that you're?
Yeah, right along the edges of the roads is where they were found.
Okay.
And these items were marked by the Connie Fluke's organization with red flagging. That's how they located them, and they would mark them. They wouldn't touch them, and then that's when we would go out and collect those items.
Okay. Next, please.
Again, this is Exhibit 492. This is another Models, Inc. business card that was found.
Okay. Next, please.
This is Exhibit 493. This is a Pampered Chef business card. On this business card, you can see the name Paige Bergfeld. It says independent director, and then it's got a consultant number on there, and then it's got a phone number at the bottom of it, and then a website over here.
Okay, and that was Exhibit 493.
Yes, sorry about that, 493.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Told you about finding something.
Correct.
You didn't actually collect the things from Mr. Young until later on. Is that a fair statement?
I believe that was July 11th when I did that.
Okay. You went out again on the 3rd?
Yes.
After Sergeant Acree had told you that they'd done another search and that they'd found some other items.
Right.
You went out again on July 16th after you had talked with a volunteer from the Abby Jennifer Recovery Foundation.
Yes.
They had volunteers out there searching the area as well.
Yes, they do.
And when they would find something, did they typically just mark it and then have you guys?
In the
You went and collected the recovered check and the deposit slips from Mr. Young. Where did you go to get those?
I went to his business located in Montrose, Colorado.
And Your Honor, if I could approach? Yes, you may. I've previously shown this exhibit to the defense. Showing you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 465. Can you tell me what that is, please?
Yes, it's a manila envelope, and inside this manila envelope were check 1759, and at the top of it is Paige Dixon's name, the address of 2512 Oleaster Court, Grand Junction, Colorado, and it's drawn on the Western Colorado's Federal Credit Union. And then there's 2 deposit slips here, and all 3 of these items are blank. There's writing on this. I don't know where that writing came from, to tell you the truth. It says R.T. Young on it, so.
Okay. Were those the items that you collected from Mr. Young?
Yes, and I know that because on the evidence envelope, it's got my name and my badge number and the date it was collected.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I'd ask to admit.
Thank you.
I've handed you what's been marked People's Exhibit 466. Can you tell me what that is, please?
Yeah, it's a white evidence bag, and in this evidence bag were numerous Models, Inc. business cards that were found. I don't know how many were in here. I'd have to look at my property list, but there's numerous business cards in there from Models, Inc. I know this is my evidence because it has my initials on here, it has my badge number, and when I stated earlier that I had written down on the envelopes where these were found, this was found in the northbound lanes of Highway 50 in the center median, approximately 3/10 to 4/10 of a mile northbound of mile marker 42.
So again, on Highway 50,
Yes,
a little bit, several miles north of where Mr. Young had directed you to.
yes, approximately, according to this, approximately 4 miles.
And those were the cards that were collected by you?
Yes, yep.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd ask to admit 466, please.
Mr. Colvin. People's 466 is admitted. Thank you.
And Your Honor, if I could approach a witness again?
Yes, sir.
And I've previously shown this to the defense.
Thank you.
You've just been handed People's Exhibit 467. Can you tell me what that is, please?
Yeah, It's a white evidence bag, and there are Pampered Chef business cards that are in this package. These were collected by me along Highway 50. I know this is my evidence because it's got my initials and my badge number on it. Also, I wrote on this envelope, these were found northbound Highway 50, center median, 0.3 to 0.4 of a mile northbound of mile marker 42. Approximately the same location as the ones before that.
And Your Honor, at this time, I'd ask to admit Peoples 467, please.
Do you have an objection? No objection. So 467 is admitted.
Your Honor, if I could push witness.
Sure. How many more do you have?
I have
to-
just 2 more.
All right, do you want to just leave
I can
them up
take
there
them
with the
both.
witness? It'll save us some
Absolutely.
time. Thank you. You can approach the witness.
You're welcome. Just handed you 2 other items, one marked People's Exhibit 468 and one marked 469. Let's talk about 468 first, please.
Okay, 468, People's Exhibit 468 is a white evidence bag. I know this is the evidence I collected because it has my initials and my badge number on it. These are Models Inc. cards. There's 11 Models Inc. cards that were found. These items were found northbound Highway 50, the east side of the road, 0.4 of a mile northbound from mile marker 42.
So again, in the similar area where you've found
Yes.
some of the
Yep.
previous exhibits?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd offer People's 468 at this time.
Mr. Colvin, do you have an objection? No, sir. People's 468 is admitted. Thank you.
And then if you look at 469, please, sir.
People's Exhibit 469 is a manila evidence envelope. I know this is my evidence because it's got my initials and my badge number on it. These items are Models Inc. cards that were found. There's several of them in here. These were found southbound Highway 50 on the west side of the road, 0.5 to 0.6 of a mile south of mile marker 41.
Okay, so a little bit different area, certainly a different side of the road.
Yes.
And are those the cards that you collected?
Yes, they are the cards I collected.
Your Honor, I'd offer People's 469.
Do you have an objection, Mr. Colvin?
No, sir.
People's 469 is admitted.
And I don't have any other questions for Mr. Ellers. Thank you.
Thank you. Cross-examination, Mr. Colvin, whenever you're ready, you can proceed. Thank you. Thank you, Judge. You're welcome.
Things where you ended, okay?
Yes, sir.
So, well, I guess I'm going to even start before that. So, you're one of the investigators back then in the sheriff's department, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you have a large case, or basically any case that's assigned to investigations, you have a lead investigator assigned to the case, is that right?
That's correct.
And you were not the lead investigator in this case?
No, sir.
But you did have a role in it because big cases, sheriff's department pulls in resources from all the investigators potentially, right?
Yes, sir.
So you've talked about various things you did, looking at the car, going out, getting the checks, et cetera. All of those things you are you are doing because you're being asked to do them by a sergeant or someone higher up in the chain of command.
Yes, sir.
Okay. On this Highway 50 stuff, you are the person who is closest to the sergeant when the phone call comes in from Mr. Young, and so you're asked to go do it. Is that right?
No, I spoke to Mr. Young, and I made the decision to go out there, but I did advise my sergeant what I was doing, yes, sir.
Okay. But it wasn't like you were sitting at your desk waiting for a phone call from Mr. Young. You
Oh,
were-
no, there was a lot of other stuff going on.
Right. And so he calls in, and you're the guy that gets the phone call. Is that fair?
Yeah, there was a phone call comes in, and then I returned the phone call, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, at the time he calls you, there's no information that's been developed by investigations that Highway 50 is an area in particular to search. Is that correct?
Not to my recollection, no.
I mean, you didn't know where Ms. Bergfeld was, so
Correct. Right.
you weren't necessarily not looking in Highway 50, but there was nothing pointing you to.
Yeah, there's nothing specifically pointing us there, no, sir.
Okay. So these finding of this check, that's a big deal. That's why you go out there right away, right?
Yeah,
I mean, basically, you're on the phone, you're out to where he said he found the check, right?
yeah, I believe it was 3 hours after I spoke to him on the phone that I went out there.
Okay.
I believe I was out there, it's actually 6 PM that afternoon, or evening, whatever you want to call it that time of year.
Right. So you go out there, you look, you're finding the stuff that we've seen, because it's been introduced into evidence. And after that, your sergeant actually goes out there separately from you and is also looking around out there.
Right, Sergeant Acree did. At that time, he was, I believe, the sergeant of the rural area deputies, is what he was doing.
And so when he finds stuff, he asks you, go collect this, book it in, right?
Right.
And so there's a couple of times law enforcement is specifically going down there because potentially you've got stuff from Ms. Bergfeld down there. This could be a really big deal, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And that leads to a much more extensive search using this Abby Jennifer Recovery Foundation and a lot of volunteers searching this area. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now,
Possibly, yes.
okay. But the finding of things may or may not be significant in telling you what was happening when those things were left behind, right?
Correct.
I mean, we could speculate, but you don't know for certain what Ms. Bergfeld was doing when she left them there, or even if she was the one that left them there, right?
That's correct.
Okay. It is certainly possible that somebody else left them there.
Absolutely.
Collect the evidence because you don't know what the value of it is when you're out on the scene, right?
Correct.
But at the same time, it's important not to speculate beyond what the evidence actually tells you. Would you agree?
Correct.
Okay. So it's important to...
And south, both directions, both sides of the road, both sides of the median.
And do you know where you found the check south and on the, I'm not going to articulate this well. Given the exhibit numbers we have, do you know where the break is when you walk back to the other side of the pullout? You know what I'm saying?
To the south or the north?
To the south of it.
No, I don't think there were any checks found south of that pullout, sir.
Okay, so all the checks you find
Are
that-
north.
on the second or
Or
north.
north of the, yes,
On the third, all those checks are found north or south of the pullout.
south.
Okay?
They're actually found near the entrance of 4612 and 4616, Highway 50.
Okay? So where I'm trying to get here is, can we determine from the order the checks are photographed the order in which the checks were thrown out of a vehicle, if that's what happened?
No, there's no possible way to do that, no.
In fact, that question's almost silly because checks blow around.
Right?
We're
They do.
speculating they were thrown out of the trunk of a vehicle. I mean, there's so many speculations in that question, it would be kind of ridiculous to try and assign some meaning to that. Would you agree?
Correct.
Okay. Some things are found. One of the things that happens in this case is people talk about the north side of the highway and the east side of the highway. This highway here goes kind of northwest and southeast, right?
Yes, it does.
So for you, and I don't remember which one you used, for you, on the north side, that's heading towards Grand Junction, right?
Correct, and that's the Mesa side of, I would say that's the east side because the Mesa's to the east of us.
So north and east are both on the side going to Grand Junction.
Yes,
Okay. And you find stuff on the north side of the highway and in the median and on the south side of the highway, right?
correct.
And everything that,
Or actually the west side, not the south side. West side of the highway.
if I, oh man,
That's all right.
this highway's gonna hurt me. But you find stuff on both sides of the road, right?
Right,
Plus the median.
yeah.
Okay, we got there. Everything you're finding on the second and everything you're finding on the third is paper, right?
Paper checks, yes, sir.
And then the stuff you collected on the 16th is paper, right?
Yeah, well, not everything was paper.
But the stuff you collected,
The stuff I collected here on this desk is paper,
all right.
absolutely.
And paper's lightweight, right?
Yes,
Okay. If we were trying to identify the direction of travel, if these things were thrown out of a vehicle, it'd be nice to have something that wasn't paper. Would you agree?
yep.
I
It
mean,
would.
paper's going to blow around a lot, right?
Yes, it is.
Especially on a highway like Highway 50 with big old
Absolutely.
trucks cruising
That's
through.
pretty much an open area out there.
I mean, we're still in the land of speculation if we have physical objects, but it's at least something. Would you agree?
Yes,
Okay. All right, I'm going to shift gears on you, and we're going to go talk about the car now, okay?
okay.
So you actually searched this car, or present for searches of this car several times, is that correct?
Approximately 3 times.
Okay. And the first time you're involved with searching the car is when?
With Mike Pachota, let me see.
Is that the July 23rd one?
No.
Okay.
That's July 9th, I believe, that Mike Pachota searched the vehicle when we had the doors removed from it.
Okay.
And that was the first time.
And that's when Ms. Dogstill's involved, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So on that search, that's the time when you had the doors physically taken off of the car?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Before that search, the doors were still attached, right?
Yeah, they were attached the day we started it. Yes, sir.
Okay. And why did you take the doors off?
Well, I didn't write the report, but I think it was to gain better access to the vehicle so we could research that vehicle.
Okay. So you do the search with Investigator Pachota, but then on July 23rd, you go back to the car, and that's when you're lifting it up and looking underneath it. Is that
The
right?
undercarriage, yes, sir.
Okay. And when you do that, you don't know what you're looking for, right? You're just
Oh, no.
looking for...
No, you're just looking under the vehicle to see if there's any damage or any other evidence that can be collected from that vehicle.
I approach the witness?
Yes, sir, thank you.
I'm showing you what's been marked as RR and SS. They've been shown prosecution.
Thank you.
You recognize those, sir?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, and what are they?
These are photos of the day that we searched the undercarriage of the vehicle, and these are photographs of the wheel well. Which one it is, I believe it's probably the driver's side from looking at the door frame here.
Okay. Judge, at this time, the defense would offer RR and SS.
Mr. Rubenstein,
No objection.
defendants RR and SS are both admitted.
Permission to publish these, Judge?
Objection, Mr. Rubenstein?
No, sir.
That's fine, thank you for asking.
Can I approach?
Yes, thank you.
So, I'm publishing RR, Judge.
Thank you.
So, the purpose of this photograph is not just to take a picture of the wheel well, right?
Correct.
It's to take a picture of that little tiny weed there, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mrs. Smith, would you help me out? I'm going to publish SS now, Judge, with permission.
Thank you. Is there no objection?
No objection.
And that's just a close-up of that weed, right?
Yeah, that's a cheatgrass seed, is what that is.
Okay. I mean, this is kind of an example of the fact that you don't know what you're looking for. You're just looking for anything
Correct.
that possibly is unusual, right?
Right.
Can I approach again, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I do. Oh, here it is, sir, right here. You're welcome. That's it there, sir.
So, let me show you my phone.
Okay.
So this grass, or this vegetation,
Correct.
is the vegetation you pulled off the bottom of the car, is that right?
Correct.
And you told us that it's broken up now, it was more of a long piece of grass when you
Right.
got it, right?
Correct.
Again, this could literally be from anywhere in Mace County, right?
That's a possibility, yes. Yep.
Okay. You collected this because you have no idea if it's significant or not, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the truth of the matter is, today, you don't know if that grass that they introduced as evidence is any more significant than that photograph of the cheat grass that I introduced, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you talked about how it's possible to compare vegetation, and you talked about how you need standards and all kinds of stuff, right?
Correct.
I mean, these days, there are forensic experts in all kinds of fields, right?
Everything.
They got forensic entomologists that can talk about the forensic aspects of bugs, is that right?
Correct.
And they got forensic botanists, right?
Yep.
And those are the people that could go out and get the standards, and they could make the comparisons, and they could do all kinds of things, right?
Correct.
You're not a forensic botanist, are you?
No, sir.
Okay. If any vegetation in this case had any evidentiary significance, you'd need an expert in forensic botany to do some work on it, wouldn't you?
Correct.
I mean, that's not something you could do,
No.
right? Okay. To your knowledge, did anybody ever try and establish that the grass or the cheatgrass weed or any vegetation at all in this case did have evidentiary significance?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Now, you searched the vehicle and you obtained that trunk release. We saw the trunk release that was introduced into evidence.
Yes, sir.
And you collected that, and that's how you know that you could open the trunk from inside, right?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know whether or not there's warning light on the dashboard where, you know, on the, by the speedometer area, that gives you a warning if the trunk's open when you're driving.
Don't know that, sir.
Okay. If Sergeant Acree, or the lead investigator in this case, back when you're doing all this, lead investigator was Investigator Gerald, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if your sergeant, anybody else in the chain of command, or the lead investigator asked you to go look at a Ford Focus that was not burned up and see if it had such a light, you would have done that, right?
I would have, yeah.
Okay. One of the searches you did, before we leave this search on July 23rd, did you wear gloves when you did this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see the gloves in the pictures I took.
And by gloves, we're talking about
Latex gloves.
plastic ones,
Yeah,
right?
latex, yeah,
And you did that purposefully because you didn't want to leave fingerprints on the car, right?
correct.
I mean, it's evidence.
Yep.
You're not going to tamper with it, right?
Right.
Okay. July 9th, when you were there with Investigator Pachota, did you wear gloves?
Yes,
Everybody on scene wear gloves?
yeah. Yeah, when you're digging through a burnt vehicle, you're going to wear gloves.
Right. Even Bernice Stogsdill had on gloves, right?
Yeah, she had a full Tyvek suit on, booties, and the hood of the Tyveks, yes, and the gloves.
And the gloves.
Yep.
So the whole purpose of all of that is not to leave fingerprints, right?
And not get her dirty due to the fact that the vehicles burn out, yes.
Ms. Stogsdill's situation was a little different.
Yeah,
But you guys, Investigator Pachota, yourself, you're all wearing the gloves so as to not leave fingerprints on the vehicle, right?
correct.
Okay. Now, you knew that vehicle had been processed before you went out there for a reprocessing, if you will, on the 9th, right?
Yeah, by CBI.
Okay? And you knew, so when you go out on the 23rd, you know it's been processed once by CBI at least, and it's been processed by you and Investigator Pachota again, right?
Correct.
And then you go out on later and you do another search of the car, and that's where you're pulling out the liner of the trunk, right?
Yeah, the carpeting, yeah. That was on the 22nd of August?
Yes. Approach witness. Yes, sir. Showing you what's been previously marked. It hasn't been previously marked. I'm sorry.
Your last was SS, if that's okay.
Thanks, Judge. Okay, can I approach that?
Yes, sir.
Now I'm showing you what's been marked as TT, UU, and BB.
All right. Okay.
What is that?
These are photographs of the trunk liner, the carpeting, and the air dam, 2 pictures of the air dam that was taken off the trunk of the car.
Okay. And these are all photographs that were taken at the time you're doing another search of the vehicle, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you had been asked to go out specifically to look at the car and pull some stuff out of it, the liner and the fit, the liner and the fit, the liner and the things. Get it sent off for scientific testing? So we have TT in front of us. That's the liner that you're pulling out at the request of your supervisor or the lead investigator, whoever asked you. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you don't necessarily know what the significance of this evidence is. You're just collecting what you're asked because it's potentially evidence, right?
Yeah, it's potential evidence on there, possibly trace evidence.
Okay. So maybe it's as important as the cheatgrass and the wheel well. Maybe it's really important. Who knows, right?
Right, correct.
Okay. Can we go to the next one, which would be UU? Now here, what we're looking at is a picture of the spoiler on the back of the car. Is that correct?
Yeah, the underneath side of the spoiler that was located on the trunk.
Okay. Can you zoom in, Ms. Smith? Can I approach the...
Yes, sir.
Look at... And in law enforcement, when you find a fingerprint, you dust it, you collect it. Is that right?
Correct.
So that's in fact what we're seeing here is that fingerprint powder you're using to lift that leak. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Can we go to the next one, please? That's just another photograph of the area where you lifted that fingerprint off of it.
Yeah, that's after it was lifted because you can see the glue from the tape.
But that's the same spot.
Same spot. Yes, sir.
But this one shows you actually not only found it, you lifted it, and in fact, you booked it into evidence, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you're still finding fingerprints on this car August 22nd that nobody else found. Is that right?
Yes, correct. Yep.
I mean, at a minimum, if anybody saw it before, they didn't collect
Yeah,
it.
they just didn't take the air dam off and process the underneath side of it.
Okay. And you booked it into evidence. You would assume, I don't know, maybe you know, did it get sent off for scientific testing?
Don't know.
Okay. Can I have a minute, Judge?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing further.
You're welcome.
Any questions from the prosecution?
Not based on that, no.
Questions? All right, thank you. Is he still under subpoena, or?
He is for other issues, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You're still under subpoena, sir. Stay in touch with the lawyers, please.
Yeah, we'll do so.
All right, thank you, but
Thank
you're
you.
free to go at this point. We'll go ahead and take a short recess at this point, ladies and gentlemen. Please remember all of the instructions for the recesses. Please rise for our jury. Thank you. For the record, our jury's left the courtroom. Anything else? Mr. Rubenstein? Mr. Colvin?
Not for us, Judge.
All right, thank you. We'll be in recess then until 10:55, please. Thank you.